Bi'ur Mishnah Gimel. Explain.
That's asur because
The Rabbi says once we let you do this, you're going to do other stuff also. Or somebody sees you doing it, I see the uman's, I say, oh, I'm allowed to do it also. And for me, it's like Maaseh Uman now. For me, I'm going to do whatever the case is going to be. כיוון ששנינו במשנה הקודמת, since we already touched the subject in the previous Mishnah, קושרת אישה ממפתח חלוקה וחוטי סבכה ושפסקתיה, that the woman is allowed to tie her dress, her belt, her hairpiece, שהם מתיקוני בגדי האדם. This is things that the person takes care of his clothing. מובאת כאן גם משנה זו העוסקת בתיקוני בגדים. Now comes the Mishnah that tells us, are you allowed to start taking care of your clothes on Shabbat? For example, talis on Shabbat. This is a good example going to be. מקפלים את הכלים. So the first thing is you're allowed to fold your clothing. את הבגדים. כשפושט אדם את בגדיו בשבת, when a person takes off his clothing on Shabbat, מותר לו לקפלם כדי שלא יתקמטו. He's allowed to put them, to fold them in a nice way so that they're not going to get damaged, folded, creased. Thank you. אפילו 4 ו5 פעמים, even if it requires many folds, even 4 or 5 folds, he's allowed to do it. כלומר, שאם אינם מקופלים יפה, that means that if he didn't fold them nicely, רשאי הוא לחזור ולקפלם כמה וכמה פעמים עד שיקולים כרצונו. In other words, he can unfold them and fold them again until he's happy with the way they are. No problem.
Not folding them for Sunday.
Very good question. He's going to discuss it, I'm sure. במה דברים אמורים?
What is the problem with folding? What do I do? את המשכן, כאילו שפולדינג.
Oh, that's why it says it's got nothing to do with the Mishkan. It's a good question what you're asking. That's why it says, since we already discussed clothing in the previous Mishnah, we're going to continue to discuss clothing over here. Not necessarily it's you're doing something wrong from the Mishkan. Yeah. באמת דברים אמורים. It says, what are we talking about? What are we talking about? בזמן, we're only talking about שדעתו לחזור וללבוש את הבגדים בו ביום, that you have an intention to wear these garments on the same day. In other words, Shabbos evening, right? Yeah. You went to sleep. You're allowed to fold your clothing because you're going to use them on Shabbos again. Let's look at the talis though. Are you going to use the talis again on Shabbat? No. If you're not going to use the talis again on Shabbat, it's a problem. Right. I can take my kapota and fold it. My kapota, I can fold it nicely and put it.
Why?
Because I'm going to wear it to mincha. I'm going to wear it for mincha. I'm planning to wear it again. But the talis, I'm not planning to wear it until tomorrow. It's a bit different.
What about the knots on the talis?
What knots? Making it a knot on the
tzitzit.
Is it?
It's loose. You know, we're not supposed to. Yeah, it's tzitzit.
So you're asking.
Permanent or
now you have a question. There's a couple of questions. Did the talis got unstrung? You are making a knot, or you're just tightening the knot?
Just tightening.
Just tightening the knot. This is the Mishnah doesn't discuss it.
Okay.
Yeah, it looks like you're not doing anything. You're just tightening something that was there. But the question is, according to some opinions, maybe the tzitzis is not finished yet until you tighten it. And the problem is that, forget the tying is okay. You're finishing, it's called makeret. You're finishing the tzitzis. You're preparing the tzitzis.
But also you have the intention, you don't want it to come undone. Even though you know it's going to come undone.
What do you mean?
When you tighten it, you know, if you tighten it on Shabbos, on Shabbat, it would be asur because of what you said, but also maybe because you're making a knot, you don't want to
Stop. I don't even know if it's considered making a knot. Tightening a knot and making a knot are two different things. The knot is there. We didn't discuss it at all. I don't know if it's a case of making a knot over here at all. Maybe you're allowed to look at chila. From the knotting part, I'm not sure you're doing anything. I'm not even sure you're doing something from the knotting.
You think the Mishnah will discuss the tzitzit?
The Gemara for sure will discuss such things, but I don't think it will Mishnah will discuss it. או שפושטם בליל שבת, ודעתו לחזור ולבשתם למחרת בשבת. Or he took them on Friday night, and he has an intention to wear them the next day. אבל אם דעתו ללבשם במוצאי שבת, but if he has the intention to wear them only after Shabbat is over, אסור, is forbidden. בגמרא אמרו, so maybe we're going to have some discussion here. In the Gemara it says, שאין קיפול הבגדים מותר אלא בארבעה תנאים כאחד. It says you're only allowed to fold clothing, you have to have 4 conditions. Before you want to fold a jacket or something, you need to have 4 conditions. What are the 4 conditions? Number 1, שאדם אחד יקפל את הבגדים ולא ישקפלו אותו בשניים. It says first of all, you're only allowed to do it by yourself. You're not allowed to do 2 people together. Why? Because if 2 people together, we have a side issue. לפי שנראים כמתקנים את הבגדים, it looks like a factory. We don't want it to look like a factory. So that's what number 1, you have to do it by yourself. Number 2, שהבגדים הם חדשים. The garments have to be new. What does it mean? שאין הכימות יבצוי בהם כל כך. That they're not really creased so much. מה שאין כן בבגדים ישנים, שקיפולם נראה כתיקון גמור, but it's not so with old clothing, that when you do it, it looks like you're ironing. In other words, if you take a nice tight shirt and you want to fold it, we let you. But if it's a shirt that's already, wrinkled completely,
it's like you fold it, you like iron.
Oh, it's like it looks like you're preparing. You're ironing it. You're preparing it. We don't allow you. Next one. Gimel, שהבגדים הם לבנים. The garments have to be white. אבל בגדים צבועים אסור לקפלם. But colored garments, you're not allowed to fold them. Why? שקיפולם מתקנם ביותר. Because that when you fold them, it's too nice. It's making them too nice. In other words, I think when it says white, it means undergarments.
Oh.
I think maybe that's what they're talking about. Not the outside, because once you're starting to go in the outside garments, the one, now you're really preparing it. If it's the things, your shirt or the undergarments, something that's okay, I understand. But starting your capota or your things, that's too much. And number 4, כשאין לו בגדים אחרים להחליף. It's only when you don't have any other garments to do it. אבל אם יש לו בגדים אחרים, but if he has other garments, להחליף לכבוד שבת, אסור לקפלן. Then you're not allowed to fold it all. So for our cases, if you go over and sleep by somebody else's house and you don't have your clothing, you're allowed to. But if you have it in your own house, you're not allowed to.
Frankly, it's not relevant because nobody folds his clothes today. They just buy new ones. It's not like they used to do.
Okay, another thing. ומציעים את המיטות. פורסים סדינים על המיטות ומסדרים אותם למשכב מלילי שבת לשבת. That's an interesting thing. In other words, we say clothing, if you're not going to use it at the same time, you're not allowed to do it. So a person gets up in the morning, is he allowed to make his bed? That's the question. Because he's not going to use his bed until Shabbos is over. In other words, he's preparing it for after Shabbat. That's what he's doing, in a way. So is he allowed to? He says, you're allowed to. When it comes to a bed, you're allowed to. כלומר, לצורך השבת, אבל לא משבת למוצאי שבת. In other words, you're allowed to do it from Shabbat to Shabbat, from Friday night to Shabbos morning. But if you went to sleep Friday afternoon...
You mean Saturday?
Yeah, if you had to sleep Saturday afternoon, and you woke up at 6 o'clock, yeah, in the evening, and it's going to be 8 o'clock, it's going to be Motzei Shabbos, then you're not allowed to make your bed.
But if you do it, and you don't sleep in Shabbos, then you fix it in the morning until Motzei Shabbos, you can do it in the morning even. If you're not using it.
Good question.
Shabbos.
Good question.
You
but
say, oh, well, I'm preparing for Motzei Shabbos.
So the question is going to be here, the custom of the people, it looks like. The custom of the people, it looks like in those times was to sleep. Afternoon, maybe people slept. And even though it wasn't your custom, if it was people did it,
then
like in Israel, when I was a small kid, between 2 to 4, everybody's sleeping, yeah. So maybe that was the custom, people used to sleep in the afternoon, so therefore, it was something that people realized that they allowed, yeah.
And what if it's maybe also the wife likes to see a made bed and it makes her feel good on Shabbos?
According to this, that's not maybe we're going to at some other time in the Gemara, in Shulchan Aruch, but according to this, she's not allowed to. According to this.
Because she's not going to use the bed.
She's not going to be able to go. אבל לא משבת למוצאי שבת, you're not allowed to from Shabbat to the other Shabbat, שאסור להכין משבת לחול. You're not allowed to prepare from Shabbos to חול. רבי ישמעאל אומר, רבי ישמעאל says, מקפלים את הכלים ומציעים את המיטות מיום הכיפורים לשבת. It says you're allowed to prepare from Yom Kippur to Shabbos. Even though Yom Kippur is a holiday, it's not as holy as Shabbos. And therefore you're allowed to prepare from Yom Kippur to Shabbos itself. אם חל יום הכיפורים להיות בערב שבת, if Yom Kippur happens to be Friday night, מותר לקפל את הבגדים ולצאת מיטות ביום הכיפורים לצורך השבת, לפי שיום הכיפורים קל משבת. Because יום הכיפורים is more lenient than Shabbos. Shabbos is more important than Yom Kippur. וחלבי שבת, the fat of שבת, כלומר, which means, איברי קורבן התמיד של שבת, the fat of the tamid korban, of the sacrifice that was brought every day of שבת, שנשארו עד הלילה, that remained until night, קרבים ביום הכיפורים. You're allowed to burn them on יום כיפור, בליל יום הכיפורים שחל להיות במוצאי שבת. In the יום כיפור that happens to be מוצאי שבת. אבל, again, because יום כיפור is more lenient than שבת. אבל חלבי יום הכיפורים אינם קריבים בליל שבת שלאחר יום הכיפורים. But you cannot burn יום הכיפור sacrifice on שבת itself. Because Shabbat is more strict. אם חל יום הכיפורים להיות בערב שבת, if יום כיפורים happens to be on Friday, ששבת חמורה מיום כיפורים. Because Shabbat is more strict than יום כיפור, שכן שבת עונשה סקילה. What's the difference? It's the same death penalty and death penalty. But Shabbat, the death penalty is the most severe one, which is stoning. ויום הכיפורים, there's no death penalty. The punishment is kares. וכשם שאסור להקריב עולת חול בשבת, just like you're not allowed to bring a regular sacrifice on Shabbat itself, to burn it on the altar, כך אסור להקריב עולת יום הכיפורים שבת. יום הכיפורים, comparable to Shabbat, it's like a weekday. רבי עקיבא אומר, רבי עקיבא says, לא של שבת קריבים ביום הכיפורים, ולא של יום כיפורים קריבים בשבת. It says, you're not allowed to do it anyway. In other words, it says, for sure you're not allowed to do it to burn Yom Kippur on Shabbat. But you also, if Yom Kippur is on a Sunday, I'm not going to allow you to burn Shabbat on Yom Kippur. It says, why? Shabbat is more strict. Let's see. ששניהם שווים בקדושתה לעניין זה. It says, no. When it comes to the sacrifices, the holiness of Yom Kippur is as strong as the holiness of Shabbos. ואין קורבנו של אחד מהם קרב בחברו. And since they're as strong, it's not more lenient, we cannot, and they have different kinds of strength, but the same holiness, you cannot do one's job on the other one. וכל שכל שאין מקפלים את הבגדים ואין מצאים את המיטות מזה לזה, and of course, according to Rabbi Akiva, you're not allowed to do any of the foldings or any of the bed preparation. שצורך הדיוט הוא. I was discussing what God needs, and even God is not allowed. Over here, what your needs, we don't care at all what your needs. וההלכה כרבי עקיבא. And the halacha is like Rabbi Akiva, that we don't fold or prepare beds, unless it's from Shabbos to Shabbos. לפי הלוח הקבוע שבזמננו, according to the calendar that we have, אין יום הכיפורים חל לא בערב שבת למוצאי שבת. יום כיפורים is never going to fall on Friday or on a Sunday. אבל בזמן המשנה שקישו את החודש פריאת הלבנה, but in the time of the Mishnah, that they did everything according to the moon, אפשר היה שיחול יום הכיפורים על בערב שבת או מוצאי שבת. It was possible for יום כיפור to fall on Shabbos or on Friday or on Sunday.